Our message this morning is entitled, How? How? No. When? No. Where? No. What does it mean? What does it mean to take up my cross? What does it mean to take up my cross? You know, we could wrestle with this for a long time. We could wrestle with it and still be confused. What does it mean to take up my cross? I want to start in a weird place with you this morning. I want to start in this world, because I think this world we have done an amazing job of diminishing the cross. Think about it for a minute. We have phrases that have crept into our language. They've crept into our way of being. Well, you know, I've got to go over here and, deal with the neighbors about that tree because it keeps dropping limbs. Well, that's just my cross to bear. Or, the preacher asked me to serve on the staff parish relations committee, and I really don't like doing those kind of things. Well, that's just my cross to bear. I don't think that's what Jesus had in mind when he bore his cross. We've taken it even further. If you were to walk into any one of hundreds of tattoo parlors in this country and look at their walls or look at their display books, you would see cross after cross after cross after cross after cross after cross. Then you ask the tattoo artist, how many of those have you permanently affixed to somebody's human skin? And they would say hundreds and thousands. Well, how many of them are disciples for Jesus rather than disciples for anarchy? See, we've let the cross become diluted. It's not full strength anymore. This is a call this morning to distill it down. We're going to bring it back a little bit to its power, its potency. To do that, I think we need to start in the dirt of the first century Mediterranean Jerusalem. What would it have meant to these gentlemen hearing Jesus talk? What was the cross to them? It's not what we think of. It definitely wasn't made out of shiny metal. It definitely wasn't something that you protected because it was important. And it wasn't something you wore around your neck. The cross was a Roman thing. It was a Roman symbol. Now, I'm not going to even begin to stand here and tell you that the Romans invented torture. But I will tell you that I believe everything in me says that they perfected it. They may not have invented torture, but they perfected torture because they came up with this idea of the cross. What was the cross? The cross was a way to take care of a troublemaker and send a point. Send a message to the masses. If somebody's speaking out against the establishment, they will be silenced. We have conspiracy theorists all over the place in this world. They can come up with ways that the government's trying to silence everybody. But in this day and age, it was a reality. This was somebody, this Jesus character was talking out against everything that Rome stood for. And Rome said, we're not standing for this. We're not going to stand for this. So what do? They find him, they take him, and they start to beat him. Seems like they're trying to break his will. Then they make him carry his own crosspiece through town as the town mocks him and spits on him, laughs at him, humiliates him even further in his broken condition. Then they lead him up to this hill, which is right in the center of town. I mean, it's where everybody can see you. I mean, you can't miss this place. And they strip him naked, and they nail him to the tree, and then they hoist him up for all the world to see. So broken and bleeding and in pain, and in the depth of shame from being naked, he hangs there until he finally expires. That's the cross Jesus was going to take. That's the cross that Jesus was on his way to. That's the cross they would have understood when Jesus was speaking to them. See, when they heard, pick up your cross, it had not been diluted. The cross was a symbol. You think about this. If you were a follower of Christ in the first century era and you saw Jesus go up on that cross and Rome basically said to you, do you have any bright ideas? Because this is what happens to people that do this. You want to climb on up there with them? Then you need to hush. They were sending a message. They were sending a message, which is we will silence you one way or the other because we're the power that is. We are the world. Rome thought they were the entire world, and they were going to have their way. And Jesus tells them in this context, what I want you to do, brothers, is I want you to pick up your cross and come after me. Okay. He wants us to do what now? Okay, I was good with the picnics. Right? I was good with the hauling in of the fish over the side. I was even good with that walking on water. That was kind of scary, but that's good. But he wants me to pick up a cross? Has this man lost his mind? Because the cross was something severe. It was something terrifying. So what's Jesus asking them to do? If that's what the cross symbolizes, what's Jesus asking them to do? What does it mean to be a disciple? If we back up just a little bit, I think we're given just a touch of insight. Jesus begins by telling the disciples, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go to Jerusalem. I'm going to be taken and abducted. I'm going to be ridiculed and beaten. I'm going to have all kinds of hardships, and then they're going to kill me. And this is what's going. He's not speculating. He's telling them this is what's going to happen. Then Peter. Oh, Peter. Peter comes out and he goes, whoa, wait a minute now. Not you, never, Lord. We're not going to let that happen. That's not what's going down because we got your back. See, Peter understood, as many of the disciples did, that the kingdom was a this world thing. Peter understood that the kingdom was a this world thing. How do you become powerful in a this world kingdom? Well, their understanding would be Jesus would come down from heaven riding a big white horse with a huge sword and an army of angels behind him, and he'd be kicking people out of town. He'd be taking it by force because that's how it was done. So Peter's response to this is this world. He says, not on my watch, brother. I'll go to the mat for you. We'll take them out. We'll fight. We'll stand. Now what comes next? Jesus, all through the Bible we have seen where Jesus, in the gospel story after gospel story, the disciples will say something stupid. And Jesus will just go, oh, guys. All right, let's try this one more time. Can I speak slower for you? He tries to help them, but this time, he doesn't have that little compassionate or empathetic air in his tone. He doesn't have that let me nurture you attitude. Peter says, not on my watch, it's not going to happen. And Jesus looks at him and says, get behind me, Satan. You're not going to get in my way. Don't you know Peter was standing there going, do what? Huh? I just said I'd fight for him, I'd protect him, I'd give myself. And he says, he calls me Satan? Now, on a side note, don't you know somebody like James and John, they were over in the back going, he finally stepped in it. Teacher's pet. But Peter thought he was doing something. He thought he was going all after it. And Jesus says, get behind me, Satan. For you are not in the right world. You're not even in the right world here. Then he says, take up your cross. Deny yourself and take up your cross. If we look at this in a logical progression, a logical formation, Jesus tells this world to get behind him and then tells the disciples, now that here comes the teaching. If you want to follow me, you got to get out of this world. It's not about this world. It's not about to stand to fight the way this world does it. Because that's not the way the kingdom wins. That's not the way the kingdom wins. You know, in the gospel story in the garden, the night when they came to take Jesus, we have an image of the sword chopping the ear off of the soldier, and then Jesus puts it back on. That's the most perfect example of that's not the way the kingdom works. Jesus is saying, look, put your swords down. Because the swords aren't going to do any good. Put your anger away, because the anger is not going to help us. But what I need to ask you to do is to be ready to lay it down. I need to ask you to be ready to lay it down. What's going to get in your way? Set it aside. Is there something that's going to hinder you? Put it away. Quit leaning on it. Quit letting it pull you back. Slow you down. This world offers us so many opportunities. It offers us so many opportunities to be in this world. Matter of fact, that's what it tells us we want, doesn't it? You watch TV and it tells you, well, you can eat this, you can eat here, you can wear this, you can drive this for no money down. They've got entire networks designed to sell you junk that you don't need. 24 hours a day. Stuff that's going to supposedly make you happy. Now, there's nothing wrong with having things. I'm not going to stand up here and say we're all supposed to be, little Oliver Twist paupers and whatnot, But it's when the things become the focus rather than God being the focus. When the things start to take precedent over the life rather than God taking precedent over the life. Let me ask you a question.